Okay, for all of you out there that want to know how to install a toilet flushometer valve in a commercial toilet, this is what we're going to do here today. What I have here is 4 commercial toilets, so we're going to replace 4 flushometer valves and the stops. Stops meaning the cutoff to the flushometer valve. And since we're going to do 4 at the same time, I am going to take the flushometer valves, the new ones, out the box. I'm going to set them up, and we're going to do what we call prefab. We're going to have it ready to assemble so that we can take the stops off all at the same time, all 4 of them, and just have the water off one time. And up here happens to be where they have the cutoff to this particular bathroom, and it does not only cut the water off to this bathroom, but the bathroom on the other side, which is the women's restroom. So, and this is a store, so we do have to work fast. You see the deposits on the bowl. That's from hard water. The area that we're living in around here, it's a lot of hard water, and it's starting to do a lot of damage to the flushometer valve itself. As you can see the corrosion and starting to build up, and inside the valve you're starting to get small little pits that's wearing the valve out. So we're going to replace these valves. This here, what you're looking at now, is called a Spud wrench. It doesn't have any teeth. The teeth that it does have are all smooth, because we're going to be working with a chrome pipe, and we really don't want to put any scratches on it. This is the flush tube part, and right there behind that nut in the inside is a what we call a vacuum breaker. It keeps the water from being sucked back up into the system so that it doesn't contaminate anything. And I'll show you that later. And you did see just before we started taking it apart here that I did cut it off with the screwdriver so that we don't have any water coming into the flush valve. And once I cut it off, I also flushed the remaining water out of there. Of course, you're still going to get a little bit of water right here once we pull the flushometer valve off. And by the way, these flushometer valves are being they're being stolen a lot lately, and as you can see how simple it is to remove it, but they do make a lock that you could put on it to prevent anyone from stealing it. And this is the stop that I was telling you about, the cutoff valve. And down here is the flush tube going down into the spud. And I'll show you what the spud looks like once we remove the flush tube. Yeah, this one's been on here a while. Usually by now I'd be able to start turning it with my hand. Okay, we have the flush tube, and that was just the scutcheon, which they also called part of the trim. And this is the spud. Sometimes these spuds, toilet spuds, been on here so long that they start to actually you just sometimes just wiggle them right off. And this is an 1.5-inch spud, by the way. 1.5-inch toilet spud. And right now I'm using my channel lock pliers. It makes it a little easier to remove that nut. And like I said, this has been on here a while, so in a lot of cases you may not run into this, especially if you're living in areas where the water's not so hard. That's the spud, the washer. Here's the new spud, the washer. Once you tighten it down, you can see that the washer will squish up against it and seal to keep any water from coming out. And what I'm doing here is using my the back end of my channel lock pliers to hold the spud in place so that I can take my other channel lock pliers and tighten the nut down and compress it up against the toilet to seal it tight. You can see the ridges that I was showing you. Those are the ridges of where my channel lock pliers are going to catch. These are some of the parts that are going to go back, and I will be laying these out on all the toilets so that when I do go to put everything back, everything will be ready and in place, and we won't have to have the water off too long. And I'm just showing you the parts here. This is the nut for the flush tube, tail piece going up into the flushometer valve, and this is the bottom nut, slip nut, going to the spud. And I do know you hear the water running in the background because the water to the system is not off yet, just only off at the stop and the cutoff valve to the toilet, which is the same thing. And like I said, once I cut it off one time, it's going to be cut off one time only, and we're going to do all four at the same time so that we don't have them without water too long. This is the vacuum breaker I was telling you about that goes to the top of the flush tube and prevents water from coming back up and sucking back up into the system. You see it right there? That's where the water shoots out but won't be allowed to come back through and go up into the flush valve. And this is another small gasket, and this is what we have right here. But first we're going to get to replacing the stops. And now I'm going to the other toilets and do the same thing. Set it all up so it'll be ready. That one's set up, ready to go. This one's ready. You can see the stops are still on there. The old stops that we're going to replace. And what you see here is the remaining of the water draining down. And I'm sure there's some more water on the line, so we're going to try to keep as much off the floor as we can, but it's kind of tight in these areas, so you're going to get some on the floor. And I'm not going to really worry about it because I am going to mop it up once I'm done doing what I'm doing. But in the meantime, it's a good idea to catch as much as I can, so I do have a bucket here. And this is going to be the first one that we work on, so once we get the water out of this first one, it should pretty much eliminate the water in the system coming down to feed the toilets. Okay, I am using my channel lock pliers on this one. I'm not really worried about scratching the old one up. Okay, we still have a little water coming out. And what I'm doing here now is trying to get the trim part, which is the chrome part, the decorative part, and the escutcheon, and pull those off so we can put a new escutcheon and trim tubing. Got the escutcheon off. Now let's get the rest of the tubing, the trim. And this is the new tubing. And more or less what I'm doing is I'm going to just kind of eyeball it. And cut a piece to fit back into the over the copper tubing. And this is 1 inch, and the copper tubing coming out is 1 inch. So the tubing would be 1 7/8 inside diameter. So it'll go over the 1 inch and the male adapter. Now we got the trim tubing. We're going to put the new escutcheon on. And we're going to come back and adjust all that later, because we don't, as I was saying, we don't want the water in here off too long. And what I'm doing now is I'm putting some Teflon tape on the male adapter, copper male adapter coming out the wall, brass male adapter. And now we're ready to put the stop back on, also known as the cutoff valve to the flushometer valve. And you see, since we are using new chrome stops, we're going to use the pipe wrench that doesn't have any teeth. It just has smooth jaws, the Spud wrench. This is just so we don't scratch up the nice chrome finishing. And we're gonna get these just tight enough, because we're gonna have time to come back later once we get the water back on to make some adjustments that we need. And as you can see now, what we're doing here is once the stop has been installed, I'm making sure that it's off, so that when I go turn the water on, the water doesn't go shooting out everywhere. And I'm just kind of snugging up the chrome piece, kind of make it look nice. And again, like I said, we'll come back and adjust that. And this is the first one that we started on, the ADA toilet, meaning handicap, but now they call it ADA. And yes, I'm using the I'm opening the stop to make sure that the most of the water is out of there. And yes, again, I am using the channel lock pliers to take the old ones off. I'm not really worried about scratching this up. Now on this one, once I get this trim and escutcheon off of here, you can see the copper and the brass ring, which is the male adapter. And I'm just kind of sizing it to fit. And like I said, I'm eyeballing it again with my thumb on the spot where I'm going to cut it, which should be pretty close to the back of the threads on the male adapter. And be careful. I'm not trying to push this on with these gloves on. What I'm going to do is tap it a little with the back end of the channel lock pliers where the rubber part is. And now you can see I have the threads hanging out just enough. And some more Teflon tape. This is monster tape. Some good tape, real good tape. It's nice and thick. I just want to make sure I don't have any leaks. And again, sliding the escutcheon over the trim tubing. And again, here's our pipe wrench with the smooth jaws so that we don't damage the chrome finish. The escutcheon has a little small area that you don't see, you probably can't see right now, and it takes a small screwdriver, and once we get the escutcheon in place, we can just tighten the escutcheon down with a screwdriver, and that'll keep the trim in place. Okay, now we have all the stops on. We're going to start putting the flushometer valves on. Nice and pretty, huh? The flush valve handle. Everything's not lining up just yet, but we've got some adjustments. We'll get it together. Here we go. tightening down the spud nut. Turning the water onto the flush valve.